From the studios of the Bakersfield Californian, it's time to open up with real people and real talk about real stuff. And now, a special welcome to our friends throughout California, across the nation, and around the world to this week's edition of Open Up.
Yes, it is. Good morning. Steve is asking, is the mic close enough? Yes, it is. Good morning. This is Open Up. I'm Tina Miller.
I'm Don Clark. We're your favorite pair on the air, and boy, do we have a program for you.
Yes.
For all of you out there who have students in junior high, you're going to meet a group of students that have just achieved something unprecedented, and we're going to hear how they did it and perhaps how all other junior high students can do the same. Mm-hmm. We've got Arlena Waller with She Power at the end, and before that, we've got a man that's going to talk about what is it about prayer that connects with healing?
Oh, yes.
What is it about prayer that connects with healing?
We need
and
healing.
He's going to be here in Bakersfield for a lecture, but we've got him now. But first,
wonderfully.
But first,
Alibaba, our favorite, one of the favorite drinks. Don likes this so much. I don't want to mix it up or change the flavor for him, but Nature's Fruit Market and Juice Bar, Chuck and Wendy Noss, 2000 H Street, right across from the Fox Theater, right here in Bakersfield. We love you, and we thank you so much for taking care of our health.
Yeah, and you can just feel yourself drinking good health.
Oh,
when
yes,
you have one
Don.
of these.
Moving a little slow this morning, but this really kicks in.
All right.
So, Don, do you know our first guest?
I do know our first guest.
Tell
and
us
you know
about
it.
him.
Well, he's in a very interesting field.
Okay.
And something that we all relate to, we all have need of at some time in our lives, and so we're going to hear from him. And we're talking about Steve Karcher.
Yes.
Steve, an attorney here in town. We're so glad to have you with us. Steve, you've been an attorney how long?
Since 1989, nearly 26 years.
What drew you in? Yeah, get that right up there. There you go.
All right, how's that?
That's better.
Alrighty.
Whoa, it's dropping down, isn't it?
Droopy. Okay, we're going to tighten this
Hold
thing
on, we
up.
got
How
some
about
technical.
that?
That's what drew you
Okay.
into the field of law.
Well, to beginning, when I was in college at Cal State, I was studying business and marketing in particular. And I began to run into a problem of a lot of numbers, a lot of statistics. And I had to take a class in law, in business law. And the teacher was an adjunct professor who took some time off from private practice. And one day after class, he approached me and said, "Have you ever thought about going to law school?"
Wow.
And I said, "No, sir." I mean, my father maybe completed sixth grade. And so I didn't have any vision of a professional life at all. Business was something I was interested in because I was running a small house painting business in the East Bay. And suddenly, my eyes were opened up to the idea of living life as a professional. And I have it written down in a book that I still keep from that class. And it's on the inside cover, I wrote down, "I am going to be a lawyer."
Wow.
Oh.
What was it that the professor saw in you that made him even made that comment to you?
I think that what he saw was my ability to ask pointed questions. And I wasn't too willing to accept his representations about this or that. And you had to go through cases in that business law class. And so as we were going through the cases, I would raise questions. And the other students, I think they were all motivated and interested students, but I think it was my questioning which led him to wonder if maybe I had a gift.
The one who challenged the professor was the one who got his attention.
Don,
Right.
we've heard so many stories from people that say, well, someone saw someone else or something in me or encouraged me.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and we're hearing that with Steve.
You know, Steve, for me, it was a professor who said, "Don, I think you have a gift for writing. I think you ought to go into journalism." And I had never thought about that before.
I'll be
How about
darned.
you, Tina? Anyone who kind of pointed you in a direction?
Well, there's been a number of things because I've done a number of the military, for one. Hey.
You look like you could be a drill sergeant.
Yes, but that's where it all started, the military.
Okay.
Not in my hometown. Only one female in the circle of where I lived was in the military. And, hey, why don't you join the military? Mm-hmm. And there it was. So we're hearing that so much. Tell us more.
Well, I just have to comment about your mentioning of military things. I grew up around the NORAD Air Force bases because my father was a tool and die engineer for military aircraft primarily. So we moved couple of dozen times all over the Western Plains
Yes.
states, very, very frequently. I mean, in those days, there was no internet. So if you wanted to do complex mathematical computations, you often would use a slide rule. And I clearly remember my father and his friend Jack Jaffe playing with slide rules in our living room in one of the places we lived in, wherever that was. I just remember my father and Mr. Jaffe talking. And so we grew up around military bases. And I think one of the first words out of my mouth before mommy and daddy maybe even was yes, sir, and no, sir.
Yes, sir.
Formative for me, formative.
Yes, sir.
Steve, once you're into the field, what was fulfilling about it? What was disillusioning about it? Was it all you expected it to be?
To be an attorney? Well, I found out I couldn't save the world, so that was a little bit disappointing. But I'm still trying to do what I can do. Now I realize, as a grown-up, that I'm a drop in the wave, but I'm going to be the best drop in the wave that I can be.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, I think that there's waves going in two directions. You could say, there's a maker and an unmaker, perhaps you could say, in life. There's forces that tear down and there's forces that build up. And, not everyone gets to be Winston Churchill. That's not going to be my gift. But I have a chance to help people. I have a chance to speak the truth to power. I have a chance to try to make a difference. And that's what I love about practicing law. And when I first started, that wasn't really a vision I had. I mean, I was a house painter living in the East Bay with my old Volkswagens, struggling to make ends meet.
Right.
But in the end, it all worked out fine. So what I like about it is that what I have found frustrating, perhaps, is the defunding of the courts and the cut down of the hours and the increase in the costs of litigation, not only on the attorney's fee sides, which of course is how I make my living, but nevertheless, I'd like to see that controlled. Just the ticket to get in, the filing fees have gone sky high since I first started. And that's because of funding issues, I imagine. That's what we're told. And to me, that means justice is denied to people. And sure, yes, the judges, many of whom are wonderful people. I have great respect for many of our judges. They have the authority to waive the filing fee, but that requires people to take a step inside the theater that they're not comfortable with, and so many people just don't, I fear, and so justice is denied to them, and I don't like that.
Steve, I've heard with the growing inequities in our country that it is better to be poor, it is better to be rich and guilty than poor and innocent. That you've got a greater chance for a ruling in your favor if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent.
Speak to that.
Well, first thing I need to say is I'm really not a criminal law expert. I mean, I've done DUIs and matters of that, but the complex kind of matters that, for example, people of substantial means would encounter is something that I haven't worked with much on the criminal side. That triggered by the word guilty. Now, if you're talking about liability versus non-liability, there you have me in my field of strength. So I can speak to that, certainly. And I think by implication, you can speak to the criminal side of the world as well. And my impression is first to consider that in any complex matter, almost always you'll have a jury making those decisions, right? And the juries are not going to be usually packed with people of means. It's everyday folk. And in fact, now in California, that more and more people are getting driver's licenses, we're going to see more and more everyday folk, which is probably a good thing for leveling the playing field, I think. But, oh gosh, I remember songs in the 60s, back in my hair days, in the 70s, when people were talking about justice being bought by the wealthy. And I say, let's ask the former chairman of Enron. Let's ask how well that worked for him. All the money in the world, and I think he still had to make some new friends.
Yes.
In prison.
Yes, sir.
About a minute and info slides. What else would you like to tell us about yourself? Open up about yourself or about your business.
Well, I've lived here in Kern County in Bakersfield since 1992. I graduated from Emory Law School in 1988. We moved with our brand new baby, Dana Karcher and I moved with our brand new baby up to Sacramento, where we had been before a little bit. I had been there anyway. And I got a call from the late John Petrini, who is a person I deeply admired. And miss to this moment. And about coming down to work for Borton Petrini, and I remember so clearly driving down Truxton Avenue and seeing this 5-story brick building and thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? And that when I came to work for John, I was hired by a firm that did then and mostly still does insurance work. And I said to John, I've come down here to do business work. And, that's important to me. And he made a promise that he would move me into the business department at that firm. And he kept his word. And so it's been well over 20 years now that I've primarily been working in the business and the real estate arena. And that's partly because John Petrini was a man of integrity.
Well, a man of integrity brought a man of integrity. And Steve, we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Here's Steve Karcher. That's where to reach him. It's just stevekarcher.com. And the number over there is 326-1959. Thanks for being with us. You're an honor to your profession. And
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it. And I
Right.
hope you all have a great day.
thank you, Steve, very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We'll be
Bye-bye.
back in just a moment.
With some young people that have had an extraordinary achievement that maybe your young people can do as well. We'll be right back.